Well, hello. Hello, my fellow sensitive people. So, tonight I wanted to have a conversation with you folks about the benefits that I have received by learning heart centered remote viewing. Heart centered remote viewing is a type of remote viewing where you ground yourself. You imagine a cord taking you, grounding you to the earth. You imagine bringing healing energy up. You go into your core center, you open your heart, you go deep into the self, and with love and compassion, you reach out to another. You hold the space for them and you let them tell you their story. This type of remote viewing is part of the Vajrayana Buddhist techniques in compassion, and it's used in mediation, but it's also used in war to access information on one's enemies or opponent because you become the other. You become so compassionate that you are one with the person that you're trying to make contact with. A good remote viewer will be intimate with the target the way that people are intimate when they make love. It's a very intimate process, heart centered remote viewing. You really have to love the other person. And I think that I just got burned out. There's just only so much loving psychopaths that I can do in a week. Powerful thinkers have all used techniques like this. Tesla, uh, Einstein, the ability to sit and be quiet, to go into a deep state of meditation and to use that time of meditation to really imagine what it would be like to be another person or in another situation or in another time. So when I began my work in remote viewing, I began to imagine myself floating over the world and just looking at the energy of human beings, just floating over the earth in this meditation, trying to be like Kuan Yin, holding the earth in my hand with compassion. And what I found in that meditation was everybody was moving. I just saw trade, transportation, people moving and hauling things all over the world. I saw all these trade routes. And in addition to all these trade routes, I saw war and conflict and people blocking each other's trade routes in an attempt to move and get trade. And then as I continued to step back from watching this, I saw the history of trade and the history of blocking trade and competing trade all the way before the Silk Road. As human beings have taught, excuse me, as human beings have tried to control one another and control each other's access, movements, labor, profits, all the way to the sinking of the Spanish Armada by English pirates. Wink, wink to Queen Elizabeth. She thought it was great, right? So we are now in a situation, I as the remote viewer, stand back and I start doing war games. What would happen if? What would happen if? What would happen if? War games, action, reaction. For every action, there's going to be a reaction. Trade routes, Abraham Accords. Then October 7th happened. which was the attack when Hamas attacked via Gaza. The Nova Music Festival went on for something like 11 hours, terrorizing live on TV. Hundreds of hostages, right? Very, very, for me, the whole thing was extremely traumatic. This is a level of pain humans should not know, right? And the Gaza war, these are pains human beings should not know, the whole thing. The back and forth, again, energetically, is this action, reaction, the British occupation of Palestine, right? Like all of this stuff energetically is a boiling point. And so what it looks like energetically is it's only going to get worse if we don't change the recipe. Right? So that's what it looks like to me as a remote viewer. It's only going to get worse if we don't change the recipe. So, as a remote viewer, doing war games, I started experimenting with artificial intelligence. What would happen if I went into these altered states and began asking artificial intelligence a series of questions? What would result? And what resulted was the creation of a new trade route, a closed trade route that I gifted to the Abraham Accords and the new Gaza, right? Which was this idea that we come together to build oasis zones of peace, that we agree to disagree, but we will not engage in violence, and that we will uphold certain ethical standards, and a board of peace will come in to monitor these locations, and they will be connected through a closed transportation system. With 6 zones in Gaza, and the first zone for the first part of the rebuild starting in Rafah, and I predict the second zone that they'll be working on will be zone 4, which is near Sderot. I learned a lot by becoming a remote viewer. I've learned a lot. And I want to share some of that with you right now. Your brain is much smarter than you realize. You have underestimated yourself. If you can quiet your mind a little bit and slow things down and go into meditation and try and put yourself in the shoes of others and try and look at this, ask the right questions and look at the world more globally, you will be amazed at what you can produce. And that is the first thing that I have learned from being a remote viewer, is that it works, and you will produce highly advanced material if you use these techniques. The second thing I learned is that incredible synchronicities will start to happen. Powerful people will accidentally discover like you will start to be on a kind of energetic 100 monkey club where you start connecting with other people, people that are plugged in. You start finding it easy to connect with people, to plug in with people. And the final thing I learned by being a remote viewer is that the world is being run by psychopaths. Not entirely, but I'm sorry to say there are a lot of people in power that are really not very good people. So yeah, I just wanted to share that in terms of the war games, in terms of what I saw for the war games. There was really no way to avoid taking out Iran. And I played multiple war games. I used multiple computer systems. Now I'm using Claude, by the way. People sometimes want to know what system I use for my AI. So this is what the AI came up with over 2 years ago with remote viewing. What was going to probably happen, what should happen in order to avoid high numbers of casualties. Iran's sleeper cells in the United States that are being built, Russian and Iranian sleeper cells, they're set up for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to take down the United States. And so do you sit down and wait for them to strike, or do you strike them before they become too powerful? Particularly if you're concerned about rogue governments getting a hold of nuclear material. So in every war game I played, by doing nothing, eventually the power shifted and Iran and Russia had the power and the nukes. And at that point, it was very hard for America not, to have control of trade routes, et cetera, human rights, blah, 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 blah. So that is remote viewing in a nutshell. And that is the sleeper cell information that we were picking up, is that the situation, more and more sleeper cells were coming into the United States, were becoming more and more advanced to a point where it was becoming a major security issue. And there are grave concerns still about the number of sleeper cells in the United States. And so we should definitely be diligent about that. But there was a feeling overall from the war games, and this was given to Joe Biden. So they had a couple years, the Pentagon, to come up with similar data to what I was coming up with. But that was the data, was that they would inevitably strike Iran because if they didn't do so, the balance of power would shift. All right, that was what I got from my data, and evidently it appeared to be the data that the Pentagon came up with as well. All right, thank you all for watching. If you're trying to get in for a reading with me, you can find all that information below this video. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you.